situation on the Korean Peninsula is growing increasingly tense following the deployment of a U.S. naval strike group to the region. And now Pyongyang is warning it's ready for war. But the Carl Vinson strike group headed to the peninsula during the weekend after cancelling a planned trip to Australia. And the show of force comes as Washington signaled it may act to shut down Pyongyang's nuclear capabilities. And the DPRK official KCNA news agency cites a foreign ministry spokesperson saying this proves that the U.S. reckless moves for invading have reached a serious phase. He says the country is ready to react to any mode of war desired by the U.S.
So Fox News alert now, escalating tensions surrounding North Korea. The story is ongoing now. President Trump sending a strong message to that country, deploying an entire U.S. carrier strike group to the region with the USS Carl Vinson and its supporting cast of ships. This amid concern over North Korea's continued banned missile tests and its nuclear program and the possibility another test is forthcoming. Senior Foreign Affairs correspondent Greg Palcott live from Seoul, South Korea with the latest from there. Greg?
Hello, Bill. A lot of activity in this region, a lot of provocation coming from North Korea. As you noted, that aircraft carrier Carl Vinson group steaming towards the waters off of the Korean Peninsula. Included in that group, destroyers with guided missiles on board. The U.S. Navy is redirecting that group here after troublemaking by North Korea. But as we found out today, the U.S. Air Force also has a piece of this action. Take a look.
There's nothing more old school than this, the iconic U-2 spy plane. It's been in operation for over 60 years in the skies over the Korean Peninsula for over 40. Old school, but loaded with high-tech surveillance gear, keeping an eye on a very formidable current foe in North Korea.
Those U-2 aircraft operate out of the Osan Air Base. That's about a mile, 1 hour south of Seoul. They can operate up in the sky about 10 hours at a time, and they can go as high as 14 miles. They avoided being too specific about what they do up there, but they are always locked in on the unconventional activities of the Pyongyang regime. And if there is trouble spotted, we also spent some time with the A-10 Warthog tank killer planes. They, too, are at that base. They've seen a lot of action in other hot spots. They provide a close cover for ground troops with missiles and with a very nasty machine gun in their nose cone. Here is how pilots of the two planes described their mission.
It can be a very tense time, but that's kind of what we do here. Is we do our daily mission, but we're always maintaining our readiness.
We go to the same airspace that we'd be going to in a wartime situation, just 30 miles to the north of us, and we're going to be there in defense of the South Koreans.
Bill, none of the officers we spoke to said that they are planning specifically for a preemptive strike on North Korea, a so-called military option. But they also said if they are provoked, and they said that's happening quite a bit lately, they are ready. Back to you.
Thank you, Greg. Good to have you on the ground there. From Seoul, South Korea, Greg Palcott.
Military action on the other side of the world happening now. A U.S. Navy aircraft carrier group is making its way to the Western Pacific to maintain readiness in the waters off the Korean Peninsula. Fox News had a rare opportunity to visit the Osan Air Base, less than 50 miles from the Korean DMZ. Greg Palcott joins us live from Seoul, South Korea, with details. Greg.
Hi, John. There is a lot of activity on a lot of different fronts, all dealing with the provocations coming from North Korea. First, you mentioned the carrier group, the Carl Vinson. Included in that group, guided missile destroyers. The U.S. Navy directed them here. They should be here in the coming days. As we found out today, the U.S. Air Force has a major piece of the action as well. Take a look at what we saw.
There's nothing more old school than this, the iconic U-2 spy plane. It's been in operation for over 60 years in the skies over the Korean Peninsula for over 40. Old school, but loaded with high-tech surveillance gear, keeping an eye on a very formidable current foe in North Korea.
The U-2 aircraft operate out of that Osan Air Base that is south of Seoul. They can go on missions for 10 hours or more. They go up to an altitude of something like 14 miles. The craft stripped bare down to the very essentials, allowing them to close in on any activity, conventional or unconventional, the Pyongyang regime. Now, if trouble is discovered, there are other aircraft we have found on that air base that could respond to problems, include the F-16 fighter jet, very well known, as well as the A-10 Warthog tank killer. Both have seen a lot of action in a range of hotspots. Both can hit targets and also support ground troops with missiles and even with some hefty machine guns. Here is what two pilots of two planes told us about their specific Korean mission. Take a listen.
It can be a very tense time, but that's kind of what we do here. Is we do our daily mission, but we're always maintaining our readiness.
We go to the same airspace that we'd be going to in a wartime situation, just 30 miles to the north of us, and we're going to be there in defense of the South Koreans.
Now, John, none of the Air Force officers we spoke to said that they expected to be called on to conduct a preemptory strike. That is the military option. But they also said that if they are provoked by North Korea, and we've been seeing a lot of provocations in the last couple of weeks and months, they will be ready. Back to you.
Very tense times in that part of the world. Greg Palcott, thank you.